She didn't think that she could do what God was asking her to do. She just didn't feel right. And she said, these words came out of her mouth. Well, in the midst of me hearing her, the title for the sermon came. And the title is, Take Your Focus Off Your Pain. Take your focus off your pain. I have the privilege and the honor to know almost everybody in this room. And I wouldn't be who I am today if one of you guys didn't tell me to take my focus off of my pain. You didn't encourage me to talk about the Lord. You didn't share your stories with me. Your issues and your hang-ups, like I have issues with the hang-ups. Some of you have been there for my children's birth. My children's graduation. Some of you have studied with my children at my job. Some of you have prayed with me. Some of you had church with me. Some of you have talked to me about my taxes, which stresses me out. and my ability to be unorganized, but somewhat organized, only because God can do things exceedingly abundantly above all that I can ask. Some of you I've been to church with. Some of you I knew before we even were at church, because I had a relationship with you then. But God was positioning me to continue the relationship now. We all are struggling as women, but how many people in here know Jesus? How many in here know Jesus? How many of you have a testimony and a story? How many of you have lost loved ones? How many of you have been through divorce? How many of you have been hooked on drugs? How many of you have been with some folks that you know you shouldn't have been with? How many of you have smoked weed? How many of you have laid down with people that you know you shouldn't have been with? I'm sorry, I just have to keep this real because God saved my life. He saved my life. I was sinking deep in sin. I was sinking deep in sin. And I didn't know how to get out. I was going to church. I've been brought up in the church. I knew how to act in church. You know how we act. You know how we act. We've been taught to be churched. We've been taught to raise our finger and go to the restroom and all that's great, but it ain't gonna save us. It's not taking us to heaven. We cut down people. We have taken our tongue and tore up folks. We have looked at our sister and said, you don't look right, I'm not talking to you. I don't like the way you act. But see, our God is a deliverer. Our God is a kingdom God. He pulls us together for such a time as this. We cross paths every day, even if it's not just the path that you see yet. You might cross somebody else's path later. That sister that you stood next to, she might be somebody that you need in the future, and she might be somebody that you met in the past. She might be the answer to where you're going. She might be the answer to how God wants to use you or save your life. And so this